Hello there, welcome. Oliver, I'm the CEO and founder of Xen Orchestra and XCP-ng projects. Today we'll talk about backup in Xen Orchestra and how it works with XenServer and XCP-ng, which is exactly the same stuff behind the scene. So first thing first, I would like to show you some basic stuff on how to prepare your backups and how it works in general. Okay, so I hope you're ready. If you have some questions, it will be possible to ask them in the chat, but in the end, so that would be easier, to interact at the end of this session. It will be roughly 30 minutes to show you the whole stuff, and then go ahead if you have questions. Okay, so hope you're ready. Let's start. So first thing first, I will connect some servers in Xen Orchestra to be able to manage them. So basically, we'll just click on connect servers. Okay. As you can see here, I've got some pools already filled, so I just have to click on connect. So today I will show you some stuff on physical hosts which are in our lab. So basically there's two pools, which one is Dell pool and the other one lab pool. FYI, Dell pool is running XenServer 7.6 and lab pool is running on XCP-ng 7.5, and you will see it's not a problem at all to make backup and restore backup whatever the XCP-ng or XenServer host behind. Okay, let's start. So as you can see in the home view, this is a list of the running VMs. So today I will more focus on playing with one VM, which is this one, Debian VM. I just made it for this webinar, this live webinar. So the goal will be to make some backups with this VM with all the different kind of backups existing in Xen Orchestra. Okay, so let's start and let's go to the backup-ng view, which is the latest bit of code of backup. It's called ng for new generation because we've basically rewrite from scratch what we've done in the first iteration of backup. So now everyone should use backup-ng. So in the backup view, you have two panels. You have the schedules, so listing the existing schedules, and also you have the log view. So the log view is basically a list of all the previous backup that happened in your Xen Orchestra, and I will show you that later. So you have also some tabs. The new tab that we'll explore very quickly is where you can create your backup jobs, restore is the place where you can restore your backups, file restore for restoring not a whole VM but just a file inside the VM, and finally health, which is the place that you can maybe detect some problems with your backups. Okay, so let's go back to the overview. So as you can see here, we got one job, but this is mainly done for a QA purpose, so we will create one here to show you. And the first one that we will do together is called Demo1. So this is the name of the backup job, okay? Then we will start with, it's a little bit ironic because it's not really a backup directly. So you can see, I select rolling snapshot. So in short, rolling snapshot is making a snapshot with some schedules and retention. It's not backup because if you lose the storage repository, you will also lose the snapshots. But it is a really convenient way to be able to roll back in time for your VM. So let's take the example with the Debian VM. So you can, type the VM name in the search field, so it will filter on the VM. So this is the one I want to make rolling snapshot onto. Then I will configure a schedule. You can name your schedule. So let's say an hourly schedule with retention of, let's say, 2. So retention means that every hour I will make a new snapshot, and then when the number of snapshot is larger than 2, then the older one will be removed automatically. So you will be able to roll back up to 2 hours in the past. So I said hourly, so every hour you got a preview on the timing here. So basically at 6 and 7 and 8, etc., it will be back up automatically. It will be, in this case, snapshot with a rolling snapshot automatically. You can't see it, but behind me here there is a create button. So I will just show you that quickly. Okay, so as you can see here, you just have the create button. So I just click on that, and I forgot to save the schedule. Okay, so the schedule is saved. So I can make multiple schedules. So for example, I can have a monthly and an hourly schedule. It doesn't matter. You can create multiple schedules for one job. But here I will just make one, and I click on create. Also, the state is disabled. It means when I will click on create, it won't really start the schedule. So if you want to start the schedule immediately, so you will enable it and then click on create. But here I don't care because I will start the job manually. The advanced settings are here for, as it said, specific settings, which aren't really useful in some case, but I will go back to that later. So basically, this is demo 1 for the Debian VM in rolling snapshot. So clicking on create, as you can see, it appears here. And you got a pattern, so this is an hourly pattern, but you can edit it if you want to see that. And so it's disabled for this schedule, but I can run it manually here. So this is what I want to do. So yeah, I'm sure I want to run this one. I'll click on OK. And I just have to wait a bit. And then as you can see here, demo 1 started right now and finished in 2 seconds. You can display details in the logs. That's useful, and I will say that, okay, snapshot was successful and it worked. So let's go back to the VM to see that the Debian VM got a snapshot, and the snapshot is called Excel backup with the name of the job and the name of the VM. So what's great with that is you can roll back to the snapshot like it's normal snapshot in the end. So it's useful for be able to roll back quickly in time. But again, it's not really a backup. If you remove the VM, you will remove the snapshot with it. And if you lose the host or the storage, you won't have also the snapshot. I can continue. If I run again, I will have another snapshot, and then the oldest one will be removed automatically at the third one. So again, this is useful for some cases, but it's not really backup. So let's create now another backup, which is this time, let's call it demo basic backup. Okay, and this one will use what we call basic backup or just backup. Basic backup is, for example, not just making a snapshot, but exporting the VM. So it uses in XenServer or XCP-ng the VM.export mechanism. So this will export an XVA file, so you are probably familiar with that. So each time you make a backup, it will export the full VM content at an XVA. Okay, so let's select again my VM. So this will introduce a new concept. We'll also use a hourly with retention of 3. Doesn't matter, it's just for demonstration purpose. That's okay. So when I selected backup, something just popped up, which is called a remote. So as you may know or not, a remote is the place where you will store your backup. This is where it's called backup because the file is stored something else, something that is not in the XenServer host or the XCP-ng host. So if I go on the setting view, you have a list of the remote here. So you got 2 remotes here. I just added a new NFS remote, which is hosts on .5 IP address and /tink NFS share, and it's connected. Okay, so this is a place where the backup will be saved. So it means, let's go back to the backup ng view. It means that the Debian VM will be exported from the hosts. It will be get from Xen Orchestra appliance, and it will be sent to the NFS share. Okay, so if I select this remote, the NFS remote here, it means then the XVA files will be stored there on this NFS share. Okay, so if even I lose my XenServer XCP-ng hosts, I will be able to restore the VM completely on any host that I want to. So this is very resilient. Okay, so I've did a schedule, I got a name, I've got a VM to backup, I've got a remote, and let's click on create. As you can see here, I've got the demo basic backup job, which is ready, and I can start it anytime. So I will start it now. Okay. So everything is done in live in the lab. Okay, so possible demo effects, but so far so good. You can go in the task view, and then you will see the progress on the VM export task. So as I said earlier, doing a basic backup is doing, in fact, a VM export. But we are managing the retention, and it can be done on a schedule basis, any schedule that you want to use. And we create XVA files until you reach the retention. So retention 3, when you have the 4th one, when it's finished, the first one will be removed automatically. So you can have, the last ones. Okay, so let's go back in the backup ng view, and let's wait a bit for the backup to finish, because when the backup is done, the snapshot is removed in the end. So now we are probably waiting on a VDI destroy task, which is removing the disks of the snapshot. So as you can see, it's successful. 52 seconds here. You can click on the details to see the current speed of the export, the size of the export, when it started, when it ended, etc., etc. So as you can see here, you got the details for each tasks which compose the backup job. So you got the snapshot first, because as you may see in the backup, the VM was running. So to export a live VM, we have to snapshot it and then export the snapshots. So that's what we did. So snapshot was fine, and then we transferred the VM, and which is in fact the snapshots, and the size was 1.71 gigs, and the speed, etc., etc. So now if I go on the restore view, well, as you can see here, we got something just appear, which is the available backup full, and we got one backup available. So if I click on restore, then I can select the backup. So it's pretty easy. There is only one for now. And then you can select the destination SR. So this is a cool thing. You can restore it anywhere. It doesn't matter. It could be on the same pool, on another pool. It's not a problem. So here I will just restore it on this storage, which is pretty fast. So for the demonstration, it will be good. You can choose to start the VM, but I don't care. I just want to restore it. So I click on OK. And then if you want to go to the task view, you can see there's a VM import task running. So it means this is the reverse operation that doing the export. It's now importing the XVA, which is on the NFS share. So if I search for the VM right now, got a lot of Debian stuff, but as you can see here, we got the VM called Debian VM with the dates. It's the dates where when the backup was done. So it's helpful if you want to restore multiple VMs at multiple times. Then you know exactly when this backup was done. So it's really useful when you have to deal with all of that. You can boot this VM if you like, there's no problem, but in this case, I will just remove it, okay? So this is basic backup. If I do another backup again, it will be the same size almost, because we'll have to export the whole VM every time you make a backup. So I will say it's helpful, but the problem is with basic backup is that if you have really big VMs, then it will take time to make all the backup, because every time, if the VM is, for example, 1 terabyte, every time you have to export 1 terabyte and so on and so on. So it will use a lot of time to make the backup, a lot of bandwidth, and a lot of storage on the NFS share. So that's why there is also another possibility, which is called Delta Backup. And Delta Backup is a bit different than backup. Not different for the concept of using a remote. Same story, the content of the backup will be sent to a share, could be an SMB or NFS share. So let's use an NFS and let's call it demo Delta Backup, okay? I will select the VM to backup. I will still use the same one. I will create a schedule, let's call it whatever. We don't care, because for the demo, we don't really want to use that. Okay, so Delta backup is selected. I've got my remote set. So right now I'm ready to make a Delta backup, and you will see that it's a bit interesting. So I'm clicking on the create button again. So it's created here and it's disabled, that's normal. And then you can click on a run to start the backup. So let's click on it and let's see how it goes. Okay, so it started, you can see in the task view. So you can see here's difference. We are not doing a VM export, we are doing a VDI export. Basically, we are saving the VM metadata and then we are saving all the VM disk individually. So it's a bit different because we are managing the export on the VDI, on the disk level. This will allow doing very more powerful stuff. So you'll see that in a few. So it's almost down. Okay, let's go back in the backup in view. And as you can see, even if we also had to transfer the exact same size than the full VM the first time, because we have to get the full content at the first time, it was even faster than the full, despite it's almost the same size. So why it's faster? Well, basically it's faster because exporting a VDI is faster in XenServer XCP-ng. It's, let's say, down to the reason of how the API is built in XenServer XCP-ng, but anyway, it's even faster for the same amount of data to save. But anyway, this is the first full. If I had a VM of 1 terabyte, it will take me a lot of time, okay? So I would say for now, there is no big difference with the basic backup. But let's run it a bit again. I will run again the Delta backup thing and let's go. So let's go in the task view. And as you can see, the VDI export is already done. And we are removing something. So let's go back to the backup in view and see that, let's wait a bit. Okay, that's successful. So it took only 10 seconds. So why it took only 10 seconds? Because we just had to transfer this size. So the speed sounds a lot slower, but that because we had time to create the export stream and then, you know, to close the stream, etc. So for little data, that's normal, but the average speed is lower. But if I had to transfer for example, 1 gigabyte, the speed would have been exactly the same. So it's very, very small, and it means so what is the size exactly? So basically it's the size between the first full backup and then the backup I've done just after. So it's only the difference between the first one and the second one. So as you can imagine, if you have a VM with a 1 terabyte disk and you just write, for example, 1 gigabyte between two backup jobs, Delta jobs, it means you will have only to export 1 gigabyte instead of 1 terabyte if you do a basic backup. So Delta is multiple orders magnitude faster than the basic backup. Also, it means faster backups, smaller time to make those backups, and also very less space used on the remote. So let's take a look on the VM. So you got two snapshots. Why? Because right now we got the first backup that we did for the demo. So this is I would say for the first job. So we can remove it. It was just for demo purpose. But right now we got one snapshot, and this snapshot will stay here. This is a snapshot done for the Delta backup. So why we are keeping this snapshot? Because when we do another run, we will do another snapshot, and then we will export the difference between the new snapshot and the old snapshots. And when it's done, we'll remove the older one and keep still one snapshot in the end. So that's how it works. So after you did the first full in Delta backup, then it's done forever. It means you don't have to do another full again, because we will be able to manage to only export the Delta. Regarding the retention, when you reach the retention, same story, it will only keep the right number. Here it's 1, but it could be 7, and if you do a daily backup with 7, then you will have 1 week worth of backup. Okay, so let's just run it again. Okay, so it's skipped. So what does it mean? So let's go to the display details, and it said, well, the job canceled to protect the VDI chain. So this means that we refused, because it's protection, to create a new snapshot because the snapshot we removed 2 minutes ago is not yet merged or coalesced by XCP-ng or XenServer. Let's take a look on the storage view on the NVMe thing and go into Advanced tab of the storage. You can see there's VDI to coalesce, and this is the VDI of the demo VM. So XenServer here, when we remove the snapshot, had to merge this remove snapshot in the chain. So until it's done, we protect you to create a new snapshot for a backup. Otherwise, if you are creating a Delta backup faster than your SR can coalesce, it means you will fill your SR until it's full of a very long chain, and it causes a lot of trouble. So this is a normal compartment, and this is even more a protection. And if you rescan all the disks, sometimes it could help to trigger the coalesce. So we'll have to wait a bit here to the coalesce to be done. And until it's done, if you start again and again and again to make the backup job, it will be skipped until there is nothing to coalesce on this particular VM. If I do a backup on another VM that doesn't require to be coalesced, it will work. Okay, so it's just protecting the right chain at the right time. So this will disappear in a few. So let's check another backup jobs types until it's done. In average, to let you know, coalesce for snapshots is, let's say, between 5 and 10 minutes for reasonable amounts of data. So it means you won't be really able to make Delta backup faster than less than every 10 minutes. So you can do that. You can even try to do that every minute. It doesn't matter because it will be skipped, so it won't harm your storage in the end. Okay, but you will have a lot of skipped backup jobs. Okay, so we've seen about Delta. So what about the two other that are left? Well, they are a bit different, but they are somehow connected. So how they are connected? So you got disaster recovery, DR, and you got continuous replication. When you click on disaster recovery, as you can see here, you don't have a remote panel, because when you click on backup, remember you've got a target remote, so this is a target. But if you select disaster recovery, you got a target SR. So the main difference is that instead of saving your VM inside an NFS share, for example, a remote, you will save it on another storage repository. Okay? Oh, sorry. Okay, I see that I messed with the screen. Give me a sec. Just a second. And we're back. Sorry. Okay, thank you. Okay, so basically, when you do a disaster recovery, instead of targeting a remote, you are targeting an SR. So an SR can be any storage repository that you got connected to Xen Orchestra. So as you can see here, I've got the shared SR on the Dell pool, but I've got also any shared repository on the lab pool or any local storage repository. It doesn't matter. You can target any storage repository. Okay. So for example, if I want to transfer the content of a VM from a pool to another pool, or staying maybe on this one, or let's say on a local storage, it doesn't matter. You can do that. So let's demo DR. Let's use it for the Debian VM. Let's create a schedule with whatever. Save it. So again, this is a bit like backup, because every time we will transfer the whole VM. Okay, so it's full every time, but instead of storing it into a remote, it will be on another SR. It could be an SR that's on a remote site, it doesn't matter. It's anywhere where your Xen Orchestra is connected. So basically the export will be piped into the import of another server. Okay, so let's create the job. And this is here. And let's try to play with it. Okay, let's run it. So as you can see here, we got a VM export task, and on the same thing we got, on the same time, got the VM import. So it means that the export is piped into the import. So let's go in the VM view and let's try to find a Debian VM, and you can see it's here. So in the end, what's the difference between a basic backup? Well, the difference is you won't have to restore the VM before you can actually play with it. So in case of emergency, it will be faster to boot your VM without having to wait for the VM to be restored before. Okay, so this is really useful, for example, if you want to have an important load balancing VM or whatever, and if you lose it, then you don't have to wait to restore it. So this is the main difference. You just cut the restore time because there is no restore time. You just have to boot the VM. It's like a copy stream to another storage repository. Could be the same storage repository, but it doesn't make sense. Okay, so this is the DR feature. But, well, DR is cool, but it's still not really great because, again, you have to transfer the whole stuff. Okay, so and transferring the whole stuff for very large VMs could be painful. So this is why we got continuous replication. It's exactly the same concept because you are also targeting a storage repository. It's also, could be this one to change. But the difference is that for the first time, it will export the full disk and then only the difference. So as you can see, if you look really closely, there is a connection between Delta Backup continuous replication, and there is a link between backup and disaster recovery. Because they are using the same principle in the end, it's just that the target is not the same. Okay, so let's take the example here, Debian VM, blah, 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 for the schedule name, I don't care. Okay, this time we'll be send it to SSD NFS, which is on another pool, and we'll create a job. And so this is the CR job, and let's start it. Okay, so as you can see, we are creating the disks on the other side, which is on the other pool, and then we will send the contents of the disk from Dell pool to lab pool. So this is not a VM transfer, this is a disk content transfer. The first time we will send the full content of the disks, and then the next time we will send only the diff. So as you can see here, we are exporting from one side on Dell pool, and we are importing the content on lab pool. This is very easy to spot what's happening there. As you can see here, it goes there and it will pipe it to there. So in the middle, you got Xen Orchestra piping the streams and doing all the stuff to send the data. So let's go to the home view and let's find again the Debian VM. And you can see here it's a CR VM, and it's called with the time of the backup. So if I run it again, then I won't send the whole VM content, but just the delta, the difference. So this is really, really fast. And also when you want to start the VM, well, it's pretty easy. You just have to clone it and start it. Why you can start it directly? Because if you start the VM right now, it will change the blocks, and so the backup job won't be able to have the frozen blocks that you did for a backup. So if you want to continue to backup this VM, then you will first clone it, start a copy here, and it will be almost instantly done, and then you will use the copy. If you are in emergency and then you lost all your VMs on the source pool, then you can force it to start, but the backup job won't be able to continue. But it doesn't matter if it's an emergency, I just want to start it right now, and that will work. Okay, so CR is basically Delta, but done on another pool, another storage repository, and that's it. So you can run it multiple times, but again, it will be like you have a VDI callless production or not. No, that's okay this time. Let's wait a bit. Let's go back in the backup ng view. Let's just wait a bit. Okay, so basically on the destination, we are making a clone, and then we will send the content on the destination. So the content, as you can see here, was really fast to send because it will only the difference between the first job. So let's go back in the backup ng view. Let's check the first transfer in CR was about the same size, you know, it's a full and the disk didn't move a lot since I do the first backup. And then we transferred to the next time only this size. So it's really more faster. So it's almost done because we have now to remove the old VDI on Delpool, the snapshots, the old snapshots, which doesn't matter anymore. So until it's done, the job, okay, won't be ready. So this is done. And that's it. So if I make a recap, as you can see, backup is sending the full VM on a remote. Disaster recovery is also sending a full to a target storage repository, and what the cool stuff is, you can use both at the same time, because as I said, it uses the same mechanism, so you can both target remote and both target also in the same time, let's say another storage repository. So basically, the data will be streamed both into a remote and both into a storage repository. Again, this will be XVA files sent at both places at the same time. You can do that, but you can also do the same thing for Delta and CR at the same time. It's exactly the same story. You will have only the difference, and it will be sent both to remote and then to SR. So you can combine both, and it could be really powerful to both have backup stored in a remote and then also be able to boot quickly a VM without having time to restore it. Okay, so we've did some backups, so let's go about the restore. You see I've been able to restore a full. Now I've did also Delta. I've been able to restore the Delta. It's here, you can see this is a Delta here, you got a date, and then you can restore it wherever you want. It doesn't matter, it could be on the same pool or any other pool, it doesn't really matter at all. You can restore VM saved in XenServer and restore it on XCP-ng hosts. It works perfectly, okay? And finally, you got the file restore option, which is really powerful. For example, if you just want to get 1 or 2 files which are stored on the VM and you don't want to restore the full VM to do that, then you can use file restore. The only condition is to use Delta backups and on an NFS or a local remote, because otherwise we don't have yet SMB support for file restore. Anyway, let's click on the restore view, and then I will select which backup I want to use, so only the Delta is available. And then I've got two disks detected, so I will use the root disks and then select the partition, which is only one partition here. And then I can browse inside the content of the VM I've saved. So it's compatible with X34, XFS, LVM, and FAT and NTFS. So you got a plenty of format that you can use. So let's, for example, take what's in the root and the bash RC file. You can also, if you want, select the whole folder and the files inside it, but here I would just use the bash RC file. So as you can see, it's here. And if you click on OK, you will have the file available in your web browser. Okay, so you can download the file, save the file, and then open it. This is a zip file containing all the content that you restored. Here I've got the restore operation, the date, and the name of the file. Okay, so you can just restore what you need to restore. That can be really helpful. Also, we got the health view, but in this case we don't have any problem. But if you have some backups job that you remove, then we'll be able to see all those backup jobs displayed here. Finally, yeah, I've seen questions. So because I've done a large tour, I will be able to answer a question. And yes, the answer is yes. File restore is working for Windows files because we are compatible with NTFS and FAT. So if you do a Windows backup, then you will be able to browse all the files directly from the web UI and get your files from your web browser. So yes, it works also for Windows VM save. So if you have other question, feel free to write on the chat and I will try to answer. Before that, go ahead for the question. I will just explain you some last thing regarding the advanced settings. You got some possibilities for, because we are talking about Windows, let's talk about the offline snapshot possibilities. When you are doing backups on Windows hosts, you need to install the VSS provider, which is basically a tool that's able to know when there is a snapshot and to flush disk before making a snapshot. So as soon as the VSS provider is installed in Windows VM, then your snapshot will be coherent. It means if you restore the snapshot, it will work, okay? But sometimes people don't want to use that or don't trust the VSS agent. So they don't care about having shut down the VM, make a snapshot, and then boot back the VM again. So this is what offline snapshot is doing. So when you are checking this, when you are doing, for example, a Delta backup, then the VM will be shut down, the snapshot will be down, and as soon the snapshot is done, then the VM will be booted back, and then we will export the snapshots. But you are 100% sure it will be coherent. This feature was requested by Windows user, because on Linux we never had any problem with that. So that's why it's a bit more Windows specific stuff. You will also have reports. So when you have backups, which can be important is to know if a backup is failing or not. So you can choose to never be notified when a backup is working or failing, or just if there is a problem, or always. Okay, so this stuff will be set in the settings plugins view, and in the plugins view you gotta first to configure the transport email to use an SMTP server, etc., to say that how to the email will be sent, and or to Slack if you want to use Slack or whatever, and then when you did that, then you can use backup reports plugin and just fill the email of the people that you want to be notified if there is a problem or if a backup is fine. When you did that, automatically, if your job is set to send an email when there is a failure or always, you will receive emails or notification in Slack or whatever you configure in the plugin automatically when the job is finished or failed or whatever. Okay. And finally, the concurrency is more used for large infrastructure. When you are backupping maybe 200 or 300 VMs, you can have some performance issues, or it can be slow, or XenServer host can be slow to do that, to make a lot of snapshots, etc. So you can reduce the concurrency of your jobs. For example, if you use maybe a backup job on 200 VMs, you can say, well, I just want to back up my VMs, save the content of the VM 2 by 2. Okay, so last thing before answering question, the smart mode, which is a really interesting thing if you don't know it yet. As you can see before, I just manually selected Debian VM here for the demo. But if you want to have, if you just have a lot of VMs to save at once, or if you move the VM, for example, every day you create new VM that you want to be backup, you'd want to edit the job again and add the VM or remove the VM or whatever. So smart mode is a bit different. It won't match on one VM, it match on a VM status, which is, for example, running halted or all the status. It can match or if the VM is running on a pool, or not running on a pool, or if there is tags. So let's target, for example, a tag, which is the most used case, which is, well, I want to back up all the VM with a demo tag. And as you can see here, it always it matches instantly Debian VM, because I made a tag which called demo for that. So you have a preview of the matching VMs. So you can use, for example, production tag, and all the VM with the production tag will be backed up automatically. So this is really convenient, because you don't have to worry if your VM will be backup or not, because you just have to put a tag, and putting a tag is really a 2-second operation. You just clicking here on the VM and type for example, production, and then I just added the type production. So if I go back to the job and I want to edit it and make smart mode and use the type production, and this time it match also all the VMs, okay, because we've got here some other examples. So this is really powerful. Okay, so I've got a question from Remy. What's the best way to clean legacy backups? This is a good question, and that's why we recently added the health view, which is remove at least the legacy backup snapshots done previously, because if you switch to backup.ng, then it doesn't remove the snapshots existing on your VM. So this view will list all the legacy backup snapshots, so you can remove them and clean those snapshots. Regarding the files on the remote, the way we store the backup on the remotes change, and now on the remote for a backup.ng you get a subfolder called let me remember, XOA backup.ng or something like that. So every new stuff is inside this folder, and the legacy stuff is in the root folder. So you can remove everything from the legacy jobs on the remote that's not inside the new folder created by backup-ng. Okay, so this is how you can clean the stuff from legacy backup. I think we did a complete tour, so if you have other questions in the next minute or so, you can ask a question, and then I think that will be all for today. As Mark said, there is a blog post talking about that, about migrating from backup to backup-ng. The link is in the live chat, so take a look on the blog posts. And if you have other questions and you missed something or whatever, this session is recorded, so you will have access later to watch it again. And also in the comments you can ask a question. Also, don't forget to go on the Xen Orchestra forum. We got another question. Is the best way to recover from an XOA going down is to back it up? Yeah, exactly. This is correct. The best way to keep your XOA is to back up XOA with XOA. So it sounds a bit like Inception, but in the end, yes, you can do that. So even a brand new Xen Orchestra that you just deploy in your infrastructure can be able to connect to a remote and detect all the previous backup. So do not worry, even if you lose your XOA, even if you don't have XOA backup, just deploy a new one, register, go up to date, connect to remote, and it will find back all the previous backups, so you can restore everything. We don't have anything stored inside XOA itself, except the schedules, but it's not a big deal. I mean, you will be able to find all the previous backup you've done within another XOA, so you will be able to restore all the stuff. Okay, another question is, well, it's more a XenServer question in the end, and no, there is no way to shrink a VDI in any way, even using XE or command line or directly calling the API, because it doesn't support shrinking, it only supports growth. So basically, in your case, the easier thing will be maybe to try to copy the content in a new VM with the smaller disks, but sadly, there is no way to reduce the VDI size in XenServer and XCP-ng for now, at least. I think it's also a risky operation if it works for another hypervisor, but I don't know even if it's possible, but anyway, that's not possible in XenServer and XCP-ng. Okay, so I think we are good for today. I will just wait a few seconds more if there is other question. But as I said again, you can go comment the video or going to xenorchestra.com/forum to ask questions. Also, I strongly suggest that you take a look to XCP-ng, which is, for those who don't know, a fork of XenServer, and we've got a very, very active community on it. And we've got a lot of cool features coming soon, so you can go on xcp-ng.org and on the forum, xcp-ng.org/forum. There's a lot of people here. So this is a good place to talk with the community. And again, we probably soon provide videos on this channel. So if you can subscribe, we will push very soon small videos for each features with some demos and animation, how it works behind, because I know it can be hard to exactly understand how it works behind the scenes. So we'll have small animation explaining how, for example, backup is working, backup-ng and delta backups, etc., etc. So register on the channel and you will see soon a lot of cool small videos to explain how it works. Okay, I hope I was clear for everybody, and well, let's see you later, and I hope you will go on our forum and you will discuss with us and comment the video. Thanks a lot for watching us, and bye-bye!